Welcome to the Rice Street Gardens training for this year. You see this picture was from 2016, the first year of the gardens, which means we're now entering, this summer will be our 9th growing season. Anyway, thanks for coming to this training meeting or watching on the video. And it's really important that you listen carefully. Some rules have changed over the years. During the COVID years, we stopped doing training, and we find that many gardeners don't know what the rules are at the garden. So anyway, so listen carefully, and please learn as much as you can about how we manage the gardens at Rice Street Gardens. If you would check from time to time at our website, namely ricestreetgardens.org, there's always lots of interesting information there. Also, if you have any questions or want to get directly to us, send an email to ricestreetgardens@gmail.com. That's the best way to find out when you have a question. On the website, by the way, there is a frequently asked questions part, so it's worth checking that out and seeing what things have come up already. The leaders of the garden are shown in this picture. Me, Ron, and Catherine and Constance are directors of a new organization called Rice Street Gardens. But the one that you really need to get to know is Dana Ferguson, who is at the garden from time to time. She's a gardener there. And also she's the administrator for Rice Street Gardens. So she keeps track of who has which plots, what changes people might want to make. Also, if there's any special things going on in the garden, she's the emergency person to call. And feel free to contact us if you have any questions or things that you want thinking about. One thing you should know is that the gardens are really not to be used at night. So we're really main focus is during the daytime hours. We'd rather not see people in the gardens after dark. The season looks kind of like this. You'll find out sometime in late April which plot you have, and then it's perfectly okay to start working in the garden, putting up your fence, turning over the soil or pulling out weeds. And then we would recommend that you not plant too early. It's up to you, but it can freeze in Minnesota up till May 15th, so be a little careful on that. If you haven't started working your garden or planting anything by June 15th, we'll start to wonder. And one thing that's happened from time to time is that others see a plot that's not being developed, and sometimes people jump on that and say, oh, I'm just going to take this over. And then when you come back from a vacation or wherever you were, it causes a huge conflict because you don't want somebody on your spot. And so please let Dana know if you're ever going to be gone, especially at the beginning of the year, but anytime during the year. If you're not going to be around and weeds are going to grow up, let us know so that we're aware of that, and we can put up signs saying this person is temporarily away. Anyway, the summer months are pretty hot, and so you'll need to learn about water, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then in August and September, early October, is really the harvest season, and we'll often have parties then and celebrations of the harvest. By October 20th, you should take down your fence, pull out any green materials, putting it on the compost pile, and cutting all the materials down to 10 inches or less. If you want to keep something to the next year, a perennial vegetable, or you want to harvest a little bit after October 20th, just let Dana know so that we don't chop it all down. Because at the end of the season, if somebody hasn't cleaned out their garden, we will go around and take it down ourselves. So just let her know if there's any exceptions. Another important thing is to help out at the garden. Approximately 4 hours in the season. We don't keep track of that, so it's mostly an honor thing. So when you get a chance, if you're there anytime and you feel like it, help out by mowing the grassy areas. Always fill the water tanks when you see they're getting low. It's always good to pick up trash and stones and to move tools that you've been using or others back to the collection areas where everybody can use them. And again, if you see things that are wrong, contact Dana. From time to time, usually a couple times a year, we'll have a special work day. You'll get an email or a text message saying that a certain Saturday is a work day. Then we encourage all the gardeners to come, if you can, to help us do some general garden tasks like turning compost, repairing or putting together new picnic tables, fixing the pathways, and other special tasks. And they change from time to time. Anyway, try to do that at least minimum of 4 hours each season. Thank you. One thing we really don't like is when people leave trash all over the place. And trash can be bottles, it can be cans, it can be papers, it's plastic in particular, rubber gloves, plastic water bottles, that kind of stuff is something we try to keep out of the garden. Especially, we don't like to see those things on the pathways. So if possible, bring along a plastic bag or two and take the trash home with you, or at the least put it in a bag in the bin that's at the front of the garden. If that gets full, it's nice to have some extra bags. So, as I say, kind of put your trash in a bag if you can, so at least it could be picked up later. One thing we really hate is when people put trash, stones, and plastic into the compost pile. Plastic does not make a good compost material. So, or if you see other people or things that have been put in the compost, feel free to pull them out of there. That's just really bad for our compost. Water is available all summer, and starting in the second week of May or so, and there's 9 spigots and hoses going to each from those 9 spigots. Find the one that's closest to you if you're new, and then you can use the hose to water your garden. One thing people tend to do, which is to bend the hose, so that once they turn the spigot on, they will do that and hold it shut, kink the hose so it can't come out, and then use it in your garden. All I ask on that is please don't keep doing it at the same spot, because that causes leaks in the hoses or breaks them. And as a result, we have to buy new hoses each year. So if you're going to do that in order to keep the water from coming out, at least find a new spot to kink the hose. There also are 7 big tanks which have water in them. And so if other people, especially in the hot months, are using the hoses, you can always use buckets and get water to bring to your gardens from these big tanks. Only ask that when you're finished with the buckets, you put them back by the tank so other people can use the water. And if you see the tanks are getting low, there's a hole in the top or a thing that you can take off. And then, so from time to time, if you see the water getting low, please add a little time to fill the tanks up. It takes 1 hour to completely fill a tank from our hoses. But so if you see something like this one, which is like a quarter left, that's going to be about a 15-minute wait. And so it doesn't take too long to top off the tanks from time to time. Please do that whenever you see them getting low. Okay, here's one that's really important to me. Every garden plot has 4 metal stakes at the corners. And that indicates where your garden is located. That's the limits. Sometimes people pull out the one on the corner to use to build fences, or they take ones from their neighbors. And I really hate that, because every year I have to buy a couple $100 worth of new stakes. So please leave the 4 corner posts in place at all times. Once you see where your garden is, try to avoid letting stuff grow out into the pathways or into your neighbors' gardens. Also, don't put buckets and plastic and or big rocks on the pathways because we try to mow those, and hitting a rock can wreck a lawnmower. So anyway, keep within your pathways. A lot of people have been using so much compost that it's kind of spilling out and it's making the pathways uneven. So try to keep the compost within your garden plot as well. Rice Street Gardens is an organic gardening place, so don't use chemical pesticides, herbicides, or fertilizers in your garden. There are organic versions of all those things that you could get from a dealer, but we don't want to use just chemical things because that can kind of ruin the soil over time. So organic gardening only. We also don't like certain things in the garden, like animals, and you can imagine why. So they could make a mess. So don't bring pets. Don't drink alcohol in the gardens, please. We'd rather people didn't bring tobacco or spitting tobacco or anything else that you might want to spit. And try to not use foul language or swear, and you're really trying to be a friend to your neighbors. And for sure, don't bring guns into the gardens. We want Rice Street Gardens to be a very friendly place. If you bring children or friends, make sure that they're you know where they are. Especially sometimes little kids will run around in the gardens and dig holes and in the pathways and so on. So just make sure you're supervising any children and keeping any friends you have working in your own garden. Occasionally people have grown really, really tall plants like corn stalks or even sunflowers, which get very tall and cause shade in their neighbors' plots. If you're going to grow anything tall like that, put it at the front of your garden so that the shade only is in your garden plot. In general, try to be friends with your neighbors. Get to know them a little bit. Ask about what they're growing and learn what they know. Anyway, make new friends. Last couple of years, we've had particular problems with people stealing in the gardens. It's not that hard for somebody to walk down the pathways and grab some nice-looking cantaloupe or tomatoes or other things that somebody else has spent a lot of time growing. People spend in so much effort planting and weeding and nurturing their plants and watering them. It's really sad when somebody grabs something from your plot. So if you see anybody walking around with a bag and going from plot to plot and just grabbing something, call Dana and or Catherine right away. They both live close enough that they can, and then they know what to do if somebody is stealing from others in the garden. Another general suggestion is don't let your garden get covered with a bunch of weeds. So try to keep weeding it regularly. If you know you're going to be gone, I mentioned this before, make sure that Dana knows, or put up a sign on your garden, one of those poles saying, I'm going to be back, or something like that, so that we've occasionally had other people who tried to take over gardens that got too weedy. So, and if you let it go too long, you could lose your right to a garden in a long time. So it just looks bad, and you really need to take care of your garden plot. Garden tools are for everyone. The big ones like wheelbarrows and rakes and shovels and the buckets are really for everybody. So put the main tools by one of their two storage places. One is by the shed, and the other one is near the biffy. And what you can do is keep the tools there. If you don't leave them in your garden. Sometimes you forget and you just leave a rake or something in your garden. That means other people can't use it. So take it back to those central locations. Buckets should be generally by the water tank so people don't have to go around hunting for them. If you want to use small tools like diggers or things like this picture, those are things that we don't provide, so you need to bring them yourself and then take them home probably at the end of the day. So anyway, tools are for everybody. If you know how to fix a tool that's broken, we could really use your help on things like that. Just let us know. There's two major motor tools at the garden. One is lawnmowers, and we like to have two going, but another one is a rototiller, which is very popular at the beginning of the season, as you can imagine. You don't have to use it on your plot. You can just pull out the weeds and turn over the ground with a shovel, but a lot of people try to use that, and so don't wait till other people are finished using it. Both of these require the right amount of oil and also gas, of course. And if you don't know how to check that, please ask your neighbor or somebody else who seems to know to help you with those tools. Mowing in general, Mr. Lou tends to take care of that in most of the garden, but it doesn't hurt for other people to help mow from time to time. It's a fairly big area, and we could use all the help you can give us for mowing in general. If these things aren't working, again, call Dana so that we know that they need to be fixed or we need to buy new ones. I want to re-emphasize the idea that we're really trying to prevent stealing. We don't have policemen out there or to check at all times. We tried that one year and it really didn't work. If you see anyone in the gardens grabbing produce from other people, call Dana or Catherine right away. We've put up no trespassing signs, so people from outside of the garden shouldn't be in there, but we really don't know who's been stealing, whether it's gardeners themselves or people who who live outside of, who live nearby and just walk to the gardens. Anyway, let us know if you see anybody grabbing stuff. About once a week or every couple of weeks, we get a huge pile of compost. This is really useful for topping off your soil, keeping the nutrients good. It's developed by Roseville, and we thank them all the time. You don't need more than a few wheelbarrows full on any plot. Some people have taken so much that it's like 2 or 3 feet deep some places. So that's just crazy. You don't need that much to have good soil. Just use a wheelbarrow and put on a little bit each year. That's just fine. And it's also not a good idea to try to take this home. If you see other people loading up a pickup or a truck or something and taking it away from the garden, please, again, call Dana or Catherine and tell them that there's somebody taking compost away from the gardens. But anyway, this is a wonderful resource from Roseville, and we're very happy that they bring that each year. Check for emails and texts quite often. Dana, whenever there's anything important happening, she will send a text message or an email. In addition, check the website at ricestreetgardens.org, because that usually anything special that's happening is mentioned there. But if you get a message by regular mail, snail mail, or by phone, you especially need to pay attention, because that means that we've been trying to get a hold of you and we haven't been able to do so. It means it's probably pretty serious, because we're really going to some expense and trouble to get to you. But so anyway, watch for that and try to avoid that. Try to always check for emails and texts to find out what's going on. And sometimes we'll post things at the garden as well, or on signs, like things that are happening and any rule changes. You're almost at the end now. It's if you're watching this on the website, then the sign-up day, there's 3 sign-up days that have been scheduled, and you really need to go to that. At that sign-up day, I believe they're on April 6th, 12th, and 18th. but check the website for the exact times you should be there. When you do come, please come with an ID of some sort and something that has your name and address on it. We're trying very much to prevent people from getting addresses and things from 5 friends and then coming to the gardens and saying, oh, I'm representing 5 people and therefore I need 5 plots. And what we want is 1 gardener per plot. And so one household, one family per plot. And so bring some kind of identification that will show where you live. And secondly, it's $20 per year, which is kind of really low compared to most places, most community gardens. So you can bring cash for that, or you can write a check made out to Rice Street Gardens. Either one will work. So bring that along for the day when you're going to be signing up. New gardeners should be told pretty soon if they're going to have a garden, and if so, they should come to the training sessions. Especially new gardeners need to come. And then sometime close to mid or late April, all the garden posts, each garden will have a tag which says who owns that garden or who has that garden for the year. We'll also put up a map and a listing towards the front of the garden so you can see where your plot is and figure out how to find it. So that's pretty much it. If you have any friends who can't make one of the garden meetings, you need to make sure that any gardener friends who missed this meeting, make sure they come to another training session. And have fun in the garden. Enjoy it, meet some new people. We have some cultural celebrations from time to time. It's really fun. By October 20th, you should clear out, remove the fences. You can leave the fence materials at your garden plot, but or you can hide them in the woods like some people do. Whatever you do, leave the metal corner posts because they represent the outside of the plot. So don't take those, or don't take them down, and then cut all plants to under 6 inches, and cut all the green stuff and put it on the compost along the road. And again, in general, if you have any questions, or if you're not coming back next year, let Dana know at the end of the season. Anyway, if you're at an actual training session now, the next thing is to go sign up at the tables. And if you have any questions, check out our frequently asked questions thing on the website, or email Dana and we'll add your question and how we answer it on the website. It's a new thing we're doing, and we'd like to understand what you're most confused about and what you'd like to learn more about. Anyway, that's about it. Hope you have a wonderful growing season at Rice Street Gardens.